Thumbs up. All right. Good morning. Happy Thursday. Here we are back together again on our Thursday morning. Today, we are going to talk about teaching mindfulness to our children. This is the last of the series of 4 about social emotional development and how that supports our academics and helps us to navigate difficult times. And so today I wanted to focus on mindfulness as a practice and as a tool that you can use to help navigate these difficult times. They just are difficult. I mean, we may as well just call it what it is. And we need tools. We need things to help us to manage, to cope, to navigate. So my name is Liz. For those of you who haven't met me before, I'm the program coordinator at Young and Healthy. I over our education and volunteer programs. I have a background in child development and psychology. I have worked with any age kid, you name an age kid, and I've worked with them. And I have my own laboratory because I have 2 kids of my own. I have a 28-year-old and a 25-year-old who've taught me, excuse me, who've taught me more than anything else I've ever done has taught me. I can put MOM after my name. Those are the only initials that really matter. So please sign in. I think it works if you're logged in recording, but if you go to that, in the chat, there is a link to a virtual sign-in sheet. All you have to do is click on that, fill in the fields, and then also fill in the course number, which is 3109. We need the feedback. We need to know that you guys are watching. We need to know that you guys are seeing this so that we can keep funding it, right? That's how we're able to keep bringing this important information to families throughout Pasadena and beyond at this point, right? Because we're virtual. But Young and Healthy is a nonprofit. We're celebrating our 32nd year next month, I should say in October. And we are completely funded by grants and donations. We get no federal or public funding. And what we have been doing for the last 32 years is providing direct healthcare services to children through all volunteer medical professionals who see our kids in their offices pro bono. So whatever they need, whether it's glasses, dental work, they have a tummy ache or a broken toe, we have doctors who can help take care of our kid, who can help take care of the kids, and nobody gets a bill. Not Young and Healthy, not the provider or the family. It's all donated services for families who otherwise wouldn't have access to that kind of care. Which includes mental health services, which have become so much more necessary, especially over the last 2 years. We're just seeing families who are really struggling and need that kind of help and support. And we are so happy that we're able to provide, if nothing else, resources for them, resources and referrals. And then we have an insurance enrollment and support specialist on our staff who helps families to enroll in the health insurance that matches their needs the best. Whatever that might look like. And then we don't just, help you sign up and then walk away, because it's not always easy to know how to use your insurance. So we support families through that, get an EOB in the mail and come on in and we'll help you read it. Or not sure how to access a specialist, come on in and we will help you figure that out. Jeffrey, you are not muted, it appears. And then our third pillar, the third thing that really is holding us up right now is our trauma-informed care mindfulness and parent education program. We know that the effects of trauma on the brain, on the developing brain most especially, has a direct correlation to our physical health outcomes. And so by providing things like mindfulness education to kids and parent education to families, we are able to bolster and support and grow a family's protective factors against those things. And so I'm thrilled to be able to be here doing this work and still doing the work, even though it's from home. I never dreamt I would do remote or video parent ed classes, but here we are. So, and we're doing it, we're making it work. And I think it's improved, it's made, helped increase our access. All right, so we're going to start with the mindfulness practice. Get ready today because you're going to be doing a lot of breathing exercises with me so that you can try them out and see how they feel. Some of them might resonate with you more than others. Maybe you're going to go, oh, I liked that one. And then we might do another one and you might feel like, no, that one didn't do it for me. Not loving that one. That's okay. Different things work for different people. The idea is that we become more mindful, which really helps to translate to that we become more responsive rather than reactive, right? That's what mindfulness, one of the things that mindfulness really helps us to do. And the younger we start with our kids, the more their brains become wired that way, right? We're actually building their brains that way. So we're going to talk more about that as we go on. But I'm going to ask you right now to stop and feel my breathing, not mine, but yours. We're going to follow me along with this exercise. If you feel comfortable doing the hand motions where you are, that would be great. It helps the more senses that we can use during an exercise, helps our brain to grow those pathways a little bit more quickly and firmly and strongly. So the first thing you're gonna do is get comfy where you're sitting or standing or laying or whatever it is that you might be doing right now. Just kind of get comfy, become aware of your body, check in with yourself. Don't judge what you're feeling. Don't worry about thinking, oh, why is that happening? Or I shouldn't feel that way. None of that. Just notice. And then I'm going to ask you to put your palms out like a stop sign and say out loud, I stop. Put your hands on your belly and say out loud, I feel my breathing. And while you're here with your hands on your belly, just kind of feel your breathing. Notice how fast or slow it is. See what you can do about slowing it down a little bit, maybe. And then the third thing would be from there, I'm going to ask you to just say peaceful and calm. I am ready to get back to work is what I put on there right now. But you can say anything. You can say, I am ready to have that difficult conversation, or I am ready to start my next project, or I am ready to go outside for a walk, whatever it might be that you are trying to get your brain ready. This is a really great one for doing with our kids. This was actually kind of our banner activity with a program that we did with our kids this summer in Pasadena that helped them to get used to being back in person, right? We helped that stepping back in situation. So that's a really great one to use and to teach our kids. When we do that with our kids, what we start to really foster is a more intentional co-regulation. Maybe you've heard this term co-regulation in the past. We use it often in relationship to our infants, right? So our infants co-regulate off of us, and we kind of co-regulate off of our infants as well. When, for example, our baby's crying. And when our baby's crying and then we get upset and we pick up that baby who's upset and crying and we call it dysregulated, it's really hard to calm that child, right? Because they're feeling what we're feeling. And when we talk about co-regulation, while it starts in infancy, we never lose the ability to co-regulate, right? It happens to us through our whole lives. And we have a big role in our children's co-regulation. It teaches them a lot about their emotional control. So our role in co-regulation is that we help our kids to regulate big emotions, right? So we teach them how to regulate their emotions. We have to remember that children are not able to regulate emotions on their own. Regulating your emotions is not something that we're born knowing how to do. It's something that we have to learn. We need to, the same way that we learn so many other things, right? The same way that we would teach our children algebra, we need to teach them co-regulation, the same way, or how to regulate their emotions, excuse me, the same way we would teach our kids how to read. We need to teach them how to regulate their emotions. So we need to do that. While they are learning to do that, children rely on their adults, on the adults in their world, to help them make sense of how they feel, to help them to understand why they feel that way, and then what can I do with this, right? How many of us have had an experience where we have these big emotions and we seriously, even as adults, don't know what to do with those feelings. We don't know really even how to behave. We don't know how to respond to those feelings. The feelings are all good. Feelings are feelings, right? We're allowed to have them. We should have them. We should encourage our kids to have them. It's what we do with what we do in response to those feelings that really matter. And that takes a lot of practice. And then when we learn how to regulate our emotions, or the ability is there in infancy, but it extends well into adulthood. I will tell you, at 54 years old, I am still learning how to regulate my emotions. There are still days where I lose it, right? There are still times when I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't catch that in time, right? I didn't get there. And that's okay. It's but because I'm aware of it, that's the difference, right? And that's what we want to make sure we can teach our kids. Here's the other thing that I'll be very frank and honest with you about. If I had been taught as a younger child how to regulate my emotions, I'd be better at it now. So we really are in a really unique and amazing opportunity to work with our kids, because we now know a lot of this stuff. We didn't know this stuff when I was back as a kid, all those years ago before ice was invented. Right, but now we know that. Now we know that children learn how to regulate their emotions through co-regulation, right? When we soothe our kids, support them, they learn how to do it for themselves. We're kind of modeling this for them, right? By being there and doing it for them, they learn then to take that on their own. And it's our job to let them. It's our job to encourage them to start to take over regulating their own emotions, right? When they can, at appropriate ages and stages, right? Letting that happen. A dysregulated adult. So if I am not regulated, I cannot help a child to regulate. I cannot help a child to calm themselves if I'm not calm. I have been guilty of this as a mother, and so many times and my son actually one day said to me, Mom, yelling at me to calm down doesn't make me feel doesn't make me feel calmer. Right. And I was like, oof, that was huge for me when he said that to me. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Right. Back up, I need to calm down so that I can help him calm down. Standing over him and yelling at him to calm down is never going to work. He might be able to check himself so that he can make it look like he's calmed down, but he's not going to have that internal regulation experience because I haven't helped him to do that. Right. So we have to check ourselves. Unfortunately, as in a lot of things with parenting, we have to check ourselves first before we can help our kids. It kind of stinks, doesn't it? Sometimes you're like, gosh, why can't I? But it doesn't work that way. We have to be the leader. We have to be first. We have to practice self-regulation so that our kids see us doing it, which is modeling self-regulation. They have to be able to observe it. And then we have to make sure that when we are regulated, we are making the connection. Our kids need to feel like they are connected, like they belong, like we accept them, like we are there for them as their support. That's how we get our kids to begin the process of learning that self-regulation piece. We have to keep those three bubbles really in check for us. And when we practice mindfulness with our children, we are engaging in co-regulation, right? And so we can do mindfulness practices together, like the one we started with, that stop and feel my breathing. When we do that with our kids, I'm going to challenge you to try it with your kids. And then I have another one coming up that we're going to do just next. But also, when you pay attention to your breathing, you will notice that your child starts to match your breath. Right? So the pace of your breathing, your child will start to match that subconsciously, because that's what we do. Our brains connect that way. So a way to kind of practice this in a very intentional way is this exercise called heart-to-heart breath. And heart-to-heart breath is something that you can do with your children. Maybe and there's lots of different variations on this. I'm going to go through it this way for you. And I want you to imagine, maybe you have your child there and you want to call them over and have them sit with you, or maybe you've got another adult there and you guys want to try this together. But the way we do heart-to-heart breath is that you sit facing one another in a comfortable position. So maybe it's on the floor, maybe it's in two chairs, maybe it's, however you feel most comfortable. But you want to, if you are comfortable doing it, sit facing one another. If perhaps you're not that comfortable, it's okay to sit next to each other or further across the room. As you get more comfortable with this practice, you can come closer together, okay? And if you're sitting facing each other and you have that comfortable feeling, then you can place your right hand, each person would place their right hand over their heart and bring your left palm up to touch the other palms, or touch the other person's palm. Or maybe if you're alone right now, or if you're not feeling comfortable enough to touch while you do this exercise, it's okay to put both hands over your own heart. And then just notice your own heart. Notice how that feels under your hand. Kind of get in the rhythm, feel the rhythm. And then if you're doing this with a partner or without, take slow, deep breaths in and out through your nose and out through your mouth. And then feel your heart rate slow down. As you do this, in through your nose, now out through your mouth. Notice your heart rate in through your nose, out through your mouth. Keep noticing your heart rate. What you will notice is that you should notice, or you can notice, maybe you will notice, is that your heartbeat will start to slow down. This comes from a really, and then you can do that as long as it feels comfortable. Sit together for as long as it feels comfortable. Perhaps when you're finished doing this exercise and everybody's kind of calm and relaxed, you could talk about how that felt, right? Because we want to talk about our feelings. Talking about our feelings is a huge part of having that emotional control, that self-regulation, and being able then to navigate difficult times, okay? So the next thing we want to do is be able to talk about our feelings. What does it look like to talk about our feelings? Many of us were not raised in families where it was okay to talk about our feelings. A lot of us. I was raised in a family, I say this often, where I was told my feelings were wrong. I'm really sad about the way that made me, about the way you just talked to me. No, you're not. I'm really mad at my brother. No, you're not. Well, yeah. Like it's hard to get in touch with your feelings if somebody's constantly questioning them, right? So we want to make sure that we're accepting our kids' feelings. So emotional intelligence is the term that we use to talk about the capacity to be aware of, control, and express your emotions, which when you can do that, helps you to handle interpersonal relationships with empathy. And it really is what we know now to be a huge key to both personal and professional success. If you think about how by being able to be aware of and control and express your emotions, how that would contribute to your personal relationships and your professional relationships, right? If I'm more responsive rather than reactive, I'm going to be more successful at communicating. Therefore, I'm going to be better in all these areas, right? I'm also going to stay what we call like connected up, or you have the opportunity then to use all the parts of your brain together, which is what we really need. When we're being reactive instead of responsive, we're really not using all the parts of our brains together. And so we're not going to be able to be the best problem solvers, the best thinkers that we can possibly be. There are 5 key elements to emotional intelligence, self-awareness, which is what we're talking about when we talk about getting in touch with our feelings. Self-regulation, knowing what to do with our bodies in relationship to those feelings. Motivation, empathy, which is helping to understanding how other people feel and helping someone else feel felt, having good social skills. Those we're going to talk mostly about the self-awareness, self-regulation, and empathy today. But emotional awareness and control are skills, right? That we learn throughout the lifespan. Very similar to the way we learn things like riding a bicycle, typing, how to read. And how do we do that? Through practice and repetition. So if we don't have opportunities to practice emotional intelligence or emotional or self-regulation, we're not going to get really good at it. So every time our kids kind of go out of their comfort zone and feel a little bit dysregulated, or we have to help them come back and be aware of their feelings, we're actually helping to strengthen their skill of self-regulation. So that's kind of a cool thing, right? We take an opportunity out of maybe some behavior that we don't, or a situation that we're not that crazy about, right? But we can use it as an opportunity to learn. So self-awareness means that you are checking in with your feelings, that you're able to verbalize how you feel, that you're able to recognize how you feel. And again, it takes practice. So we can check in with our feelings. If we're not sure, we can just say, hey, let's take a minute, right? And check in and try to figure out, what am I feeling? Because it's not always easy to know what you're feeling. Oftentimes, people don't even know that you can have more than one feeling at a time. Not that long ago, we had a mom who was with us here in our virtual space, and she said, my son came to me the other day and said that he was feeling two different things, and I didn't even know he could feel two different things. We can. Sometimes it's confusing. That's what's so hard about emotions and feelings. Like, we can feel a lot of different things at the same time about the same exact situation, right? We have all these mixed feelings. So being able to check in, take a few breaths, ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? And then wait. And then maybe you have to wait some more, right? This requires a little bit more than a little bit of patience. And then notice the sensations in your body. Start to help our kids and ourselves get in touch with, what do these sensations mean? Do those butterfly feelings in my tummy mean that I'm nervous right now? Do those butterfly feelings in my tummy mean that I'm scared? What does that mean right now? And then we can name the feelings, right? Or we can, maybe that's a little bit higher skill level than we're ready to do with maybe our younger kids. Emojis are awesome. Pictures are great, because even a nonverbal child can point to the picture and try to tell you that's what I'm feeling right now by showing you the picture. And when we get our kids talking about this, then we're naming it. And when we name it, we can tame it, right? When we can name what we're feeling, the next step is that we start going, oh, I understand what I'm feeling now. I can start to feel like I'm in control. And our brain interprets, I can name this, I know what this is, as having a sense of safety within those feelings. Like, I get it. Okay, this doesn't feel so overwhelming and confusing now, right? Because feelings can be really overwhelming and confusing, but it doesn't feel so overwhelming and confusing when we can give it a name, right? When we name what we're feeling, it helps us to use our thinking, learning brain to experience that feeling, rather than the part of our brain that doesn't think or learn or have language. It's just reactivity, right? It just reacts. And we want to be responsive, not reactive. That's the whole goal here, right? So when we can help to integrate, use all the parts of our brain, the smart parts and the emotional parts, that's when we start to feel better. So again, there's one of the ways that we can do this with our kids is through these emojis. Show me how you're feeling. Our kids don't have words. Oftentimes they don't know the word envious. They may not know the word suspicious, right? Or confident. And so this is a great way to kind of help them to figure out what the words are that go along with what they're feeling. And it might take a little bit to get there. It probably won't work the very first time you pull it out, but we can start the process of normalizing talking about our feelings, because being able to navigate our feelings is empowering. And we want our kids to feel empowered in their feelings, in their own bodies, in their own emotions, because that's how we're going to that's how we're going to develop that self-regulation. And then empathy. When we exhibit empathy, when we model empathy, when our kids feel our empathy toward them, that's how they learn empathy. And empathy, right, is a huge part of that emotional intelligence that we're trying to, and self-regulation our goal is to teach, right? So we have to be empathetic toward them in order for them to learn empathy. Empathy is one of those things you have to experience in order to know how to then demonstrate. It's, again, empathy is not something that we're born with. We're not born as empathetic people. Empathy is something that we have to learn. We're actually born as very self-centered people. We are born as survivors. We don't think about other people because we have to. We're born and we have to survive, right, to stay alive. And so developing empathy for someone else is not something that helps us necessarily, at least at the beginning, to maintain life, right? It's not food and shelter and warmth, and no, empathy is something we have to learn. And when we can say things like, I get you, I understand, I see why you feel this way, that's the kind of thing that calms a situation, right? It calms you right down. If somebody says, I get you, there's no argument left, right? Now there's just connection. If somebody says, oh, I can see why you feel this way, there's no sense in me being defensive anymore because you get it. And now we can move on to the part where we start to problem solve and build a connection, right? Tina Payne Bryson, one of my favorite authors, she's actually a Pasadena resident. She's written so many books, many of them with Dan Siegel. I recommend anything she has written. My favorite, the best one, flagship, is Whole Brain Child. You're going to grab any book in the next, couple of months and read it on parenting. Whole Brain Child's the first one I would recommend. But empathy is everything. How can we demonstrate empathy? We can make sure that our kids feel seen, safe, and soothed. These are three really important things that we can do for our kids to help model that self-regulation, self-regulation, emotional intelligence, and empathy. Seen. Seen means that I recognize that I see you. I see that you're struggling, or I see that you need something, right? I recognize your need. Rewind it back to those infant days when our babies would cry. They were telling us something, right? And we would see that behavior as communication and go over to them and say, what do you need? Do you need a bottle? Do you need a diaper change? Do you have something making you uncomfortable? What can I do to help you, right? And so I see that you have a need. That's what seen is. And what we can do often when our kids need to feel seen, or when we want to make sure our kids feel seen as they get older, is to give them a minute, right? Give them a second. Let them figure it out for a second. Back off instead of, don't be the mom that I sometimes can be, which is, what do you need? Talk to me. Let's talk about this. Come on, can we talk about this? No, give me a minute to figure this out on my own as our kids get older. How can we make them feel safe, right? Because when we, again, with our infants, they cry, we make them feel safe by going to them, letting them know that we're here for them. What can I do for you? I'm going to try to figure this out for you, right? I'm going to try to help figure out what you need, and I'm going to help you get it. And that's like listening. That's like, okay, what do you need? You need me to listen? You need me to sit with you? You need me to go away for a second? You need me to help you problem solve this? You need me to sit with you and do a breathing exercise? What can I do to make you feel safe? Because making our children feel safe means we're listening to them at a deep level, right? It's not just this, okay, yeah, go ahead, keep talking. It's, what do you really need? What can I do for you right now? And then when that's, again, with our infants, we help our infants to feel soothed by providing them what they need, right? We soothe our baby by making sure they have their bottle. We soothe their baby by making sure that they have we change their diaper or take off that little tag that's bothering them in their onesie, right? We can do this for our kids by understanding them, by saying, I can see why you feel that way, right? That doesn't mean that I agree or that I'm all happy with the way the whole situation rolled out. It just means that I see your perspective. That's all that means, right? And then once we're calm and connected, we can talk about it. But in the moment, if our kids are not self-regulated, if their kids are not regulated and they need something, they need some help regulating. Most of often when we are dysregulated, when we have kind of lost it, when we've gone off the rails, when we're just not feeling connected up, right? What we need one of three things usually. Alone time. Give me a second to just process this. I'll get back to you. I need it. I need a minute, right? Alone time is different than a timeout. A timeout is you sit there and you think about what you have done until I come back and tell you that you can get up. It's a punishment, right? That's what timeout is. Alone time is I'm going to give you a minute so that you can gather yourself, so that you can kind of calm down, so that you can get back into your thinking, learning brain. And then when you're ready, come get me and we can talk. Okay, see the difference there, right? It's not imposed, it's empowering when we give a kid alone time. And then the other thing that we might need is like attention or connection. We use this word attention all the time, and it makes, to me, some people interpret this as negative. Oh, that kid just wants attention. Yeah, guess what a kid needs if they're looking for attention? They need attention. But instead, replace the word attention with connection. That often makes it a little bit easier to take, right? Maybe a little bit easier to understand. They just need to know they belong. They just need to know that they're accepted. Yeah, I haven't been behaving at my best, but do you still love me? Can I still come to you? Are you still going to help me feel safe? And then the last thing is affection. And affection doesn't necessarily mean physical affection. I am not suggesting that every single situation calls for us to throw our arms around our kids and hug on them. That doesn't always work, right? Oftentimes it can aggravate a situation depending on the kid, right? And so affection can mean, hey, I'm here for you when you're ready. Or maybe affection is I sit next to you and hold your hand. Or maybe affection is I just sit next to you. Or maybe affection is, hey, I'm going to be right outside this closed door. Let me know when you're ready, right? That can be affectionate as well. Affection is really just recognizing what that person needs and kind of giving it to them. And so affection doesn't necessarily mean physical. Because we all long to be heard, don't we? Don't we all love to be heard? Doesn't it feel good when you know somebody gets you, that you know that somebody really hears you and cares about how you feel? We all have this need to feel seen and heard and valued, and that is when we really come alive. And how do we do that? We do that from the time we are born through connecting, right? When we have connection, we are going to be better students because our brains are better at learning. Our brain function is enhanced. Our productivity and how we cope with things is all enhanced when we feel connected with someone else. We're made to be this way. Our brains are made to be in connection with others. But sometimes we all get grumpy. It happens. I mean, come on. You all know that. And one of the things that we can do in order to help our kids to be able to communicate that is to normalize feeling different ways, right? We can normalize the fact that, yeah, you're going to get grumpy sometimes, and that's okay, right? And so this exercise helps us to normalize the grumpiness. It helps us to make it okay. It helps us to know what to do in those moments. It gives us a tool for when we are feeling grumpy, right? So this one is kind of a silly one. It's a great one to do with your kids, especially your younger kids. But yeah, it's kind of silly. So do it along with me. I can't see any of you, so it's all cool. You don't have to be embarrassed about your faces, about the faces I'm going to ask you to make. So I'm going to say, take a big deep breath in through your nose. And as you do that, scrunch your face up into the grumpiest expression you can possibly make. Make it really grumpy. And if you're feeling anything grumpy today or anything unpleasant, take a minute and picture those things in your mind. Maybe you're not, maybe you just need to fake it. It's okay. I'm happy for you if that's the case, right? But think about any unpleasant emotions while you have that grumpy expression on your face. And now exhale through your mouth and imagine blowing all of those thoughts and feelings away while you also relax your face. Get back into a relaxed space. And now repeat that as many times as you need so you can get your grumpies out. Right? So let's do it one more time. Inhale through your nose, scrunch up your face. Think about those unpleasant emotions and blow them out through your mouth. Think about them going far, far away as you relax your face. Right? And that's kind of a fun one, not only to do for yourself, because it's also that tension release that helps us to relax, but a great one to do with our kids, to let them know the grumpies are cool, but you can control getting rid of those grumpies and those bad thoughts. You get to control what you think. And then we want to make sure we're also noticing that where do I feel this in my body? That's a huge part, right? That a self-awareness, as I mentioned earlier, right? Maybe you get that tension and you go, oh gosh, I'm starting to tense up. What's causing this? Because feelings are physical. Our feelings manifest themselves through physical sensations in our body, through actual physical happenings in our body, right? When we get anxious, perhaps, or nervous, or we feel like there's something going to happen that we're afraid of, our heart rate goes up, our breathing gets faster. Maybe you start to perspire or turn red, right? Our body responds to those feelings. And it's hard to learn to identify that, right? The idea is that we will learn to identify so that before we get to that, on this graphic here, the 10, where I'm exploding out of control, before we get there, we check ourselves and go, okay, wait, I need to do a breathing exercise, or I need to take a walk around the block, or I need to go talk to my mom because I need to do something to help me calm down before I keep going in that up on that temperature scale, on the thermometer, I mean. So I love this graphic because it kind of helps us to see, right? We kind of want to hang out down in the green, right? I'm cool, I got this, where I'm good. It's okay to get into the blue a little bit. Yeah, I'm all right. It's hard, but I've got this. And then once you get into that yellow, that 6, I'm getting a little uncomfortable. Or when we get to that, especially once we get to the 7, I'm heating up. That's when it's time to go. I need to be aware of what's happening in my body, that my body's trying to tell me something. And now I need to grab one of those mindfulness tools or something else that I know works to calm me down, to keep my brain working all together, to keep me integrated. And this is a physical response. This is absolutely coming from our body in a physical way. It's not something that we're thinking our way into, right? It's a physical response. And the part of our brain that's deep, deep down in our midbrain that is most often, that takes over when we're feeling a stress response, when we're having what's called our fight or flight response, because something is making us feel really unsafe, is our amygdala. And it's way down deep in there, and it kind of takes control and shuts down the other parts of our brain. And so we might go into a fight, flight, or freeze state. And I know this says it's the stress response in kids, but to be very honest, this could happen to any of us, right? All of these responses can happen in any of us. And so sometimes when our kids are yelling or screaming and using mean words, it's not because they're being bad. It's because their body is trying to tell them, I'm overwhelmed, right? This doesn't feel right to me. I'm having really big feelings that are taking over, and I need to recognize that. Or maybe you notice that your kids are fidgeting or restless or hyperactive. And again, it's not because they don't have self-control. It's because they might be feeling really uncomfortable, right? This is not a situation that makes me feel safe and I don't know what to do. I feel like I want to get out of here. And then we have a lot of kids who kind of go into that zoned out daydreaming place, right? Because again, they're overwhelmed. And so their brain just shuts down and they kind of zone out. They're kind of in there, but not there. They can't really pay attention. And it's because all the parts of their brain are not really working together. Their midbrain, that emotion control part of their brain, has kind of taken over. That reflex part of their brain has taken over. And so getting back to, okay, talk to me about how you're feeling. Like, where are we at? Tell me what's going on. Once they start to get back into that thinking, learning place, that's how we can get them to be able to talk about this. Another way to get them to think about it, right? To get them in tune with that, again, is surprise, surprise, through a mindfulness exercise. This one is called clouds. A great visualization for how am I feeling? How do I feel right now? If we can't get our head wrapped around it, can't get a word to find it. So again, get comfy. Notice your breathing. And then I want you to use your imagination and imagine that you are a cloud in the sky. What kind of cloud are you? Are you a white, fluffy cloud? Light, white, fluffy, happy, right? What kind of emotions do you experience when you look at like a white, fluffy cloud? Or maybe you're feeling today like a dark storm cloud. You could imagine you have angry raindrops just waiting to fall away. Is that how you're feeling today? Like you need to get those raindrops out of your cloud? Or maybe you're a silly cloud. Maybe you're being silly today and you're a cloud in the shape of a jelly bean or a polar bear. Or maybe you're feeling sparkly today and you're a cloud full of snowflakes, just full of all kinds of snowflakes, and you can't wait to show them off and start dropping them everywhere. The idea is that you can be any kind of cloud that you want, or that you identify with. And if you're feeling like maybe you're a dark storm cloud today, and you'd rather be a sparkly cloud, you can talk to yourself and say, I know I want to be a sparkly cloud. What do I need to do so I can be sparkly? How do I get to a place where I feel like a white, fluffy cloud? And in that way, you can start talking about that and changing your thoughts so that it changes your feelings. We used to think that our feelings made us think, and now we know that our thinking makes us feel. And then end that with, take a long breath in through your nose, let it all the way out. So for many of us, breathing is new. I know that sounds weird to say, right? Breathing is new. We've all been breathing since we were born. However, using breathing as a tool to calm ourselves can be something new to you. Maybe you've not done that before. So how do we do that with our kids? How do we introduce breathing to our kids? There are lots of books to read. This Breathing Makes It Better, one of my favorites. Moody Cow Meditates is super cute. The Calm is by Eric Carle, the author of The Very Hungry Caterpillar, one of my favorites. And there's a couple of other things, Listening to My Body. So there's lots of books out there that you can read to introduce breathing to your kids, and start talking to them about why breathing works. And there's not any of your children are too young, promise you. I heard a story from a clinical social worker who works in hospitals the other day, and she was saying that she had a 2-year-old who needed to have a really painful procedure. Poor little thing. She has to often have painful procedures. And she was getting ready to have the procedure, and they were prepping her for the procedure. And she said to her mom, this little 2-year-old could barely talk. She said to her mom something like moo moo or may may or something. And her mom said, oh, okay, no problem. And she pulled out a mindfulness breathing application on her phone and the daughter listened to it. The little girl listened to this breathe and followed along and did mindful breathing to get her through this painful medical procedure, right? Less than 2 years old. She not only knew how to do it, she knew to ask for it because she'd already identified her feelings. And that's what we can do for our kids if we kind of lead them through this. So these are some great books to introduce that. But you need to figure out what works for you when it comes to mindfulness. What works for you? Whatever your answer is, do that, right? For different people, different things work. It might not be breathing. It might be cleaning, right? It might be cooking. It might be taking the dog for a walk or going out for a walk or going out into nature. Mindfulness can mean many different things. We're doing breathing here because I can't take you all out for a nature walk from my computer or cook something nice for you or with you. But we can, right? But I can teach you some mindfulness breathing which is a really great tool that you can use anywhere at any time. But there are probably other practices that you engage in, that you participate in, that help you to feel calm, right? That help you to feel connected. It might be just something as simple as a chat with a friend. And kids need mindfulness too. The benefits of mindfulness are, you can see them here on the slide that I'm showing right now, but it improves social skills, better mood. Practicing mindfulness helps our kids to become better decision makers. It decreases their worry, increases their self-esteem. I mean, the benefits just keep going. And these are not all of them. This is a sampling. One of the keys to gaining benefit from mindfulness practice is that we practice in the calm times. I know most of us think, oh, we just need that mindfulness exercise when we're really feeling stressed, or when we're really feeling anxious, or when we're really feeling kind of upset or out of control. Yeah, we need it then. But if we start practicing, if we do some of these breathing exercises or practice mindfulness in the calm times, we're actually teaching our brain what to do in the not so calm times. So if I already know what to do and I start feeling a little bit, those feelings rising in my body, that tension perhaps, or the butterfly feeling in your tummy, then I know, oh, I can practice mindfulness exercise and my body will know that I'm trying to get it to calm down, and it'll go along with me. I know it sounds a little cuckoo. My daughter once said to me, Mom, I don't understand this. My therapist wants me to practice this mindfulness stuff, but I'm not even feeling anxious right now. Well, right. So I explained to her, no, what you're trying to do, the goal is to teach your brain what to do so that when you need it, when you are feeling anxious, it knows what to do. So practice in the calm times, even if it seems a little silly. All right. The next exercise that we're going to do, or that we're going to talk about, is mantras. And how mantras really can play a huge part in setting up our brains for what we want to be thinking. Right? We set intentions. So this one is, you can do this any way that you want, but think for a moment about maybe what you want, what your mantra is going to be. What do you want to be today? What do you see yourself today? Do you want to feel friendly? Do you want to feel kind today? Do you want to feel helpful? Do you want to feel calm? Right? So when you start your day by taking a long breath in through your nose, let it all the way out through your mouth. And now just hold your body still, be aware of your thoughts, and think about how you want your day to go. Once we end this call today, what do you want? How do you want the rest of your day to go? And then pick a word to finish this sentence. Think out loud or to yourself. Today, I am going to be, maybe you want friendly or kind or helpful or amazing or productive. Choose the word that you like to finish that sentence. And while we're doing this exercise with our kids, we can talk to them and say, maybe if you want to, you can tell your grown-up what your word for today is, so that your grown-up can support you, right, and help you with that. Or they don't have to, right? They don't have to. They can have that as their private mantra, as their private intention. And then we can encourage our kids to remember their word and do their best to make it happen. Maybe they want to write it down on a sticky note, on a Post-it note, and put it, on their desk, or on the mirror in the bathroom, or on the front of their notebook, or somewhere that they're going to remember or be reminded of that mantra. And you can make your own mantra cards. I have these, you can see them here, the challenge to change cards. I have these mantra cards that I just love, but you can make these all on you don't need to spend money on them. Index cards, or even a piece of paper, and one of these little binder rings. You can make or put them in an envelope and let your kids just shuffle through them. It doesn't have to be fancy, but they can make their own mantra cards. So if they're not sure, I don't know what I want to be today. Oh, I think I want to be smart. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go with smart, right? So they can it helps them to set their intentions. You can totally make your own tool, your own resource there. And there are a lot of other places where you can get these resources, but there you go. Another fun thing to do is mindfulness bingo. This resource comes from the biglifejournal.com. They have a lot of great things, but you can, you set a date. Maybe you want to have a mindfulness bingo that goes on for the week so that our kids and how many boxes do you want them to fill in throughout the week. Talk about what the goal is. They can write their own, but this is another good way to set a mindfulness intention and to kind of track it, right? When you have this goal, it works. And then talk to them about things that they can do when they're at school, right? What are some things I can do if I'm at school or I'm out with a friend or wherever, and I'm feeling unfocused or I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling disconnected? What can I do to take care of myself, right? And so there's lots of different things on this graphic here that I like, that because I think they're all really, they're all really great. They're all great tips. One of my favorites is if they're feeling, especially right now, our kids are back in school. Yes, that's fantastic. It's also a little bit hard for a lot of kids, right? Things are the same, but different. I've been home with mom and, with my family, and now I'm not, and this feels uncomfortable and I'm upset. One of the greatest things that you can do is to just give them a family photo that they can put on maybe on the front of their notebook or in a folder, so that if they're feeling a little bit like they need a little grounding, a little connection, they can pull that out and look and see my family's right there. Another great way to do that is a grounding exercise. And we can help our kids to feel present in the moment, to help them to focus on where they know that they belong or where they are, is a grounding exercise. Super simple. Our older kids, we can do this like an imagery and imagination or a mind visual kind of a thing where you talk them through it. Or for our little kids, maybe they need to go around and touch these things, but you'll see what I mean when we go through it. From where you're sitting, just look around and notice 5 things that are around you. Just notice 5 things. And then notice 4 things that have a texture, 4 things you can touch, a texture or a temperature or something. What are 3 things you can hear right now? Are there 2 things that you can smell? If my coffee's still sitting here. And now on this one thing that you can taste. It can be something as simple as ice cold water. Water actually speaks to that part of our brain that I mentioned earlier, our amygdala. It helps to calm our amygdala, get us all connected back up. It also helps us to be very aware of the sensations that we have, which grounds us. And when you're learning new things, you need twice as much water as you do under other circumstances. So drink your water. I say this all the time. Those of you who are on the call with me right now are like, oh, she said it again. I bet you're saying it with me. But it really does. It's a great reminder that water's not just for our body, it's for our brain, right? Or it's not only for our, the parts of our brain our body that we think about needing water, but our brain really needs a lot of water. So this is a great exercise that you can do with your kids. And you can see now what I mean by, if you have little ones who need to go around and touch the things, or if they need to go get 5 things and bring them to you, that's fine. It's helping them to ground. It's still helping them to ground. There are lots of mindfulness apps for little kids, right? It's not just about mindfulness apps for adults, because there are some very cool ones like Calm and Headspace, which is on Netflix now. But there's Headspace for kids. Sesame Street has a whole series of mindfulness apps that you can, and with activities that you can do. And Moshi is this really cool one, specifically for little ones, that has really great mindful activities specifically for little ones. There are cards that you can buy. I love the cards because they're like little bites. You don't have to have a whole book and start paging. I have a deck of mindful cards. These are called Mindful Reminders card deck. And all you have to do is pull one card. You don't have to pull a whole book, right? And I just like that they have one activity. Okay, and I'm going to read this one. It says, put on your favorite song. Listen to the whole thing, but focus on just one instrument or voice. When your mind wanders, simply bring it back. See, so mindfulness doesn't have to be like meditative. It doesn't have to be strict meditation where you just listen to a guided imagery. It can be anything. You can incorporate something like your favorite song. So cards are a really good way to do that. And I love all three of these that are up on the screen right now. Breathe Like a Bear has got to be one of my favorite books right now. I just love Breathe Like a Bear. It's very colorful and happy. A lot of the activities that I do come from here. And there's all kinds of activities for all different kinds of moods. For example, if you have a kid that has a hard time waking up in the morning, right? You have one of those kids who you're in there all the time, come on, get up. And they just have a hard time rousing, getting up. There are activities in the book for helping kids wake up. So breathing can be used for all kinds of things. And then the last activity that we're going to do this morning is we're going to do a loving kindness breath. Things are hard right now. We are all experiencing overwhelm and perhaps some impatience. And sending out a gentle reminder that you are loved for yourself and to others is a really great way to kind of help your brain to focus on the positive. So this is our last exercise. Go ahead and get cozy again. Notice your body, notice the sensations in your body. Notice where you're feeling like grounded to the earth. Where are your feet touching the floor? Is your bottom in a chair? Notice that. And then just sit and breathe in and out through your nose. And to yourself, gently say to yourself, I am loved. Put both hands over your heart as you do this. I'm sorry, I forgot to say that. Now, with your hands over your heart, as you think each word, I am loved, I want you to tap your heart with both hands. I am loved. I am loved. We're going to say that 5 times. I am loved. I am loved. I am loved. Now take one of your hands and place it on your forehead while you leave the other one on your heart. And as you keep your hands still now, think the words I am loved as you breathe in and out. Concentrate on sending that love all the way from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. Just keep thinking, I am loved. Now, when you're ready, bring your hands back to your heart. Take one long breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. One more, in through your nose and out through your mouth. And that, my friends, is where we are going to end for today. Please take care of yourself over the next week. We will not be here with you next week. I will not be here with you next week, but we will resume on October the, what day is it? Thursday. Oh boy. October the 14th. And so I wish you all excellent mindfulness practice over the next week, and we hope to see you again soon. Thank you very much.